Today on Women of Substance, I'd like to introduce our guest, Dr. Mary Edwards Williams. And she is an author, a teacher, a mentor. She has started many ministries over the years. She is co-founder of Joy of Jesus Ministries in Detroit, a CEO of Leaves of Gold Consulting, LLC. She's the founder of Widows with Wisdom, the Called and Ready Writers, and then his lovely wife ministries, and many other endeavors. You're going to enjoy so much listening to her accomplishments. And one of the things I loved was just her energy. She'll tell you her age on the podcast, and she's just recently gotten married in June. Just a delightful person. I wanted to say just a minute about her writing abilities. She's been writing for Chicken Soup for the Soul. She's written many books and really helped others by editing and encouraging women writers and men as well. Her granddaughter, she encouraged to write a book when she was 8 years old, and she talks about this today. And this book was presented by Angel, her granddaughter, to First Lady Michelle Obama. So you're in for a treat today. I encourage you this is a little longer podcast than usual, but I encourage you to listen to the whole thing because there's such great nuggets of wisdom and spiritual understanding that you'll gain through this. So enjoy. God bless you. I want to welcome you today to Women of Substance podcast. We're so glad that you are listening in on this very powerful time today. We want to empower women to accomplish God's will for their lives. So we believe you'll be inspired today by our very special guest. And her name is Dr. Mary Edwards Williams. And we're so glad that you're here today, Dr. Mary.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Well, first of all, we want to congratulate you on your being a newlywed.
Thank you so much. I'm excited and happy. And as I said earlier, at 80 Eve, I'll be 80 next year. And so it's a new start for me, a new beginning.
That's wonderful. Praise God. It's just so exciting to see your entire life on the website and things that you've accomplished, things that you've done. It's really amazed me. And I'm so grateful that you're here to share some of these things and to help me inspire younger women, maybe even older women, to accomplish what God's put in their heart to do and the desires of their heart. Maybe to get started, we talked earlier about how you really have felt now to leave a legacy. Can you tell us about that?
Sure will. Let me begin by saying that God has given me a legacy name, or acronym for legacy, called Leaving Every Generation a Chronicle of You. Mm-hmm. And a chronicle is a story, and I tell lots of stories, and they're true. They're not fables or fibs. They're true stories. But so many times people look at my life and they say, "Did this really happen to her?" I've been through a lot, but I'm still here, and every day is better than the day before. But legacy is so important to me, and in so many different ways. But when we think about the word legacy, if I were to say my uncle died and he left me an inheritance, mm-hmm. So many people would think about money or houses or land or material possessions. But Proverbs 13:22 says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Yeah. And so maybe you don't have children, but you have those listening may not have children, but they have nieces and nephews and even godchildren. So they somewhere along the way, legacy in the life of a young person is going to mean so much because they're the ones that are going to carry on, after we're gone. And as I think about legacy, I think about what I call legacy notables, certain ones that have left a legacy, and what would life be like if they hadn't left a legacy? And these, I just want to share a few of those, and they're not
Yeah.
in order of importance. And I'm sure those listening can think of a lot of others people, but I can't help but think about Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
Because, the movie is out now,
Yeah.
Respect, I think is the name of it.
We saw it the other
What
night.
if she hadn't left a legacy?
Mhm.
And as I said, these are not in the order of importance, but they're people that are fresh in my mind, and some have been in my family. And
Yeah.
so, I think about Catherine Kuhlman, you
Yeah.
know, who is one of my favorite people. And she's been gone since 1976. And I was thinking
Mm.
about that today. I didn't come into the things of God until 1976. She had been here and left a legacy.
Isn't that something?
She
Yeah.
departed in 1976.
Mm.
I was just born again in 1976. So she was doing this great work before I even got here. So
Yeah.
needless to say, she means a lot to me.
Right.
And Dr. Martin Luther King, you
Yes.
know, um, he, needless to say, has left a legacy. And he was such a young man when
Yes.
he went on, but his life was full, and he
Mhm.
definitely has impacted his generation.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you, Billy Graham, you
Yeah.
know, that man lived to be almost 100 years old.
That's right.
And we're still calling his name like he's still here.
Mm.
And of course, Nelson Mandela,
Yeah.
was someone. And then President Lincoln, we're all of the African Americans. We really think a lot of him,
Yes.
and his presidency and the things that he did during his lifetime. And then we think about Princess Diana, who I just love. It's like she's still here. I collect dolls, and I have a doll of hers, and a replica of her. And
Right.
I when I moved recently, somehow in the moving, her arm got broken. And I
Uh-oh.
thought, oh my, I got to find the doll hospital. So I started calling around, trying to find the doll hospital. And I talk to these like they're my friends, my little dolls. And I have quite a collection of angel dolls and notable people like Maya Angelou and Harriet Tubman and
Yeah.
different ones. And I looked at Princess Di and I said, you haven't got but one arm, but you're still a hugger. She was a hugger. She was the princess, the people's princess. And so
Right.
I think about these, and those that are listening, I'm sure they have a whole roster of people that they would like to celebrate. And these are just a few of those. Um, one of the reasons why I'm doing legacy is because of my former late husband, Reverend
Mhm.
Eddie Edwards in Detroit, who was a notable figure there. And he's been gone now for 17 years. It's hard
Mhm.
to believe because he left such an impact. And that's when I started really getting excited about the importance of leaving a legacy. This is a book we did in his memory. We did this book, and he never wrote a book. He kept saying, I haven't written the last chapter. Well, he never got around to doing the last chapter, so I had to do it for him. So actually, this book is a book of tributes to him.
Oh, my.
One during one of my back in my widow days, I had a melancholy moment, and I wrote out on the internet. I remember, and I was talking about Reverend Edwards and how he wasn't just my husband, but he was my friend, my mentor, and we worked in the ministry together for 21 years.
Wow.
And so I sent that out on the internet, and before I got it, really comprehend what was going on, I started getting feedback from people telling me what he had meant to them.
Right.
And so before I know it, the book changed to from well, I wasn't even thinking about a book when I put it out there, but the article I wrote was called "I Remember," but before I knew it, I had written this book called "We Remember,"
Oh,
and
so
so that
nice.
became my uh, thoughts about the importance of leaving a legacy. He's not here anymore, but
Mhm.
his desire was to impact his generation, and
Right.
so that's how I started 17 years ago, becoming interested in the importance of leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
And it went on from there. And of course, you mentioned my autobiography, Born Grown.
Yes, I've been
No,
reading it. It's wonderful.
and I have grandchildren and great grandchildren, and
Yes.
one of them is that has written a book called Angel Food for Thought.
Yes.
That's
And
Angel. She
and she
wrote her
was
first book when she was 8 years
8 years
old,
old. That's
and
remarkable. I
she
read that.
actually had the pleasure of giving it to Michelle Obama personally.
Oh, how neat.
And so that was a part of our legacy. And she was only 8 years old then. She's
So
21 now. And
oh,
so the Bible tells us a little child shall lead them.
that's
And
right.
so when she was interviewed about her book, and she was only 8 years old, people asked, and then she wrote another book called Bullying.
Oh, that's
Bullying
good.
is not cool. And she wrote this with her mother. The two of them wrote this together. But if you ask Angel back when she was 8 years old, it's kind of funny because uh, when she was like a local celebrity because she's 8 years old and written this book.
Well,
So people
sure.
asked her, "What is your book about?" And she said, "My life experiences." I mean, she's 8 years old, and of course people laugh, but she says it's about my family, my school, my community, my friends. So at 8 years old, she had a legacy already. So you
Yes.
never get too young or you never get too old to leave a legacy. And we're actually living one,
Yes.
right now. And at the end, I'm going to be sharing some of my really special quotes about the importance of leaving a legacy, and they're
Oh,
taken from
good.
different folks. But legacy has been around for a long time. I'm so happy that Angel actually got written up in Art magazine for a story called "Why I Love My Grandmother." And
Yes.
they did this contest, and she was honored to be a winner. And long story short, it's on my internet, leavesofgoldconsulting.com.
That's
Of
right. I read
course,
it.
did you?
Yes.
Well,
Uh-huh.
on there, she's actually talking about what it was like to meet Michelle Obama.
Yes.
And so in her article that she wrote for Art magazine, she says, "My Grammy's always talking about we need to leave a legacy." Those are her exact words. And she says, "I didn't even know what a legacy was until my Grammy said a legacy is a story." And so she said, "Now I write lots of stories." And so she's 21 now in college, and she's written a couple of books. And she said, "I don't have time to write any books anymore. I have to do school papers now." But I was inspired, actually, Dr. Scarlett. I was inspired not just a little bit before Reverend Edwards passed. His grandmother, who was in her 90s,
Mhm.
um, had uh, was being plagued with Alzheimer's, and
Right.
it was like I thought, what can I do to preserve her memory? So
Mhm.
we started, my late husband, Reverend Edwards, and I started going to see her on Sunday with a tape recorder and started asking her questions. And I urge those who are listening, capture these moments and these stories while you still have your elders here,
Right.
because they have a lot to say. And I remember this was before I started doing the full-fledged legacy work. I remember Reverend Edwards' grandmother saying, I kept asking her questions, and she said, "Had I known you were going to ask me so many questions, I would have tried to remember more." And I thought, that's it.
Yeah.
They have to we have to capture these memories while they're still alive. And so
Right.
now I have her voice on recording, and I'm gonna tell you this: the only days that she could remember were Sunday, because Eddie and Mary were coming with the tape recorder, and she would
Oh,
get dressed up. And she'd be in her bed, and I would ask her these questions, and she would give these answers. And they were so wonderful because since she's been gone, and it's been 20 years maybe now, I
right.
still have her voice.
Right.
Thank God for modern technology,
I know.
because now I can play that back for her great, great, great grandchildren. And
Yeah.
so we can capture these important moments. It's like when, when my mother was alive, I wish now that I had asked more questions
Mhm.
because I didn't know my mother's favorite color. I knew she liked to sing, but I didn't know her favorite song. So there's always something that we can learn more.
Yeah.
I like to put it in a book because I'm a bookie. My elevator pitch now, Dr. Scarlett, is I'm a bookie because I love books. I'm a hooker because I love to network. And I'm an evangelist, a streetwalker, because Jesus was an evangelist, so I'm a hooker and a bookie and a streetwalker. And I tell this story that's maybe some of the old, but maybe I don't know who's listening, but they might appreciate this little story because I'm also a pole dancer. And that happened when I bought these silk sheets. I had never had any silk sheets, and I thought, boy, I'm getting old. Now I need to have the experience of silk sheets. So I ordered them off of QVC, and they came, and I went to bed early that night, excited about my silk sheets, and they were red, the blood of Jesus, and all of this, and I went to bed in the early, but I had to get up to go to the little girl's room in the middle of the night. And guess what happened? I slid out of the bed on those silk sheets. And I grabbed this pole I had a 4-poster bed, and I grabbed this pole and I just slid right down out of the bed on the pole. And so that's my story about how I became a pole dancer. So when people want to read this long bio, I said, let me give you my elevator pitch. So I really, I'm thankful now to have my works in the University of Michigan Legacy Library up
Nice.
here. And I did not arrange this, but the man I married I was a Detroiter, but he lives in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where all
Yeah.
these universities are. And I never thought that when the University of Michigan asked for my work, I never thought I would be living within 5 minutes or so of the university where my
Mm.
work is in the
That's
Legacy Library there in Ann Arbor. So you never know where your works might, come
yes.
and end up because they will, outlive us. I have this one quote that I like so much. What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Oh, that's so
So
nice.
it's not the
Beautiful.
monuments that, but it's what is in those hearts of the people. And
Right.
so, that's why I do my work because it will outlive me,
Right.
And I saw something in Sam's Club that really impressed me, and it's a quote. I wish I had made it up personally, and
Mhm.
it says, "It's not what you gather, but what you scatter that
Mhm.
really matters in the end."
Yeah.
So, a lot of us spend time gathering things, but what do we leave behind? Because
Right.
that's really what matters.
Yeah.
Um, and I like to also quote Maya Angelou. She says, "If you're going to live, leave a legacy. Make
Right.
a mark on the world that cannot be erased."
Yes.
So, we got whiteout and we got erasers, but what have we done with our life that will go on when we're no longer here? And so that's one of the reasons why legacy is so important to me. And I spent a lot of time looking at other people's quotes to inspire me. And some of them are gone. Maya Angelou's been gone.
Yeah.
Aretha Franklin has been gone. Martin
Mhm.
Luther King, but they left their impact on
Right.
the
Yes.
world. Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, let me just interject this, and you
Okay.
can hear a wonderful interview about legacy is on my website. I don't know if you heard it or not,
Yes.
with Paul Bridgewater,
Mhm.
and he talks about, and he is well known, even though he's no longer at Detroit area for the aged. He says his grandmother left a school bell.
Mhm.
And that's symbolic of the importance of getting a good education. So she's passed it to him, and he's passed it to his children, and his children's children would probably pass it to theirs.
Right.
So
Yes.
it may be a recipe. I'm not a cook, so it won't be a recipe that I leave behind. And if it had to be tested before you would have to test it, make sure it's right before you pass it on. But it could be a recipe.
Yes.
So, so often people say, "Well, Mary, you do books. What other thing can you know?" But
Right.
people they may have a pair of ballerina slippers or almost anything.
Right.
A favorite song. A legacy is what we want to leave behind that people will remember us for.
Yes.
So, do you have
Very
a question? I'd be happy to answer
well.
any
I think
question.
it's wonderful, and I think you've already begun that legacy in so many ways. I mean, you've been recognized lifetime achievement awards. You've been recognized by the presidential award and by your local, your state, your governor. That it's just been amazing what all you've left already, and you're still here. Praise God. And then
Alive and well.
yes, and
For the most part, I'm alive and I'm well for the most part. Anyway, I got a little aches and pains and a few battle scars, but I'm still here.
and then I love the story of your granddaughter, your 8-year-old. That's just beautiful. What she's done already and now 21. And just think about her future. That's amazing what all she will accomplish. If you were going to speak to women today that want to leave something that they have in their heart in written form, and maybe they can write, maybe they're just a little apprehensive about how to get started, or maybe they feel like they can't write, but they want something written about what they have, what God's given them or what they have in their heart. What would you suggest? How would they get started?
Okay, and I'm glad you asked that question because I tell people all the time, you don't have to be a writer to have a story. We all have a story. We
Mhm.
just need a good editor. And I've been doing what I do for 40 years, and most of my work is referral. I hardly ever to advertise, and people just keep coming and coming. And what I do, I have something called Getting on the Right Track, WRITE,
Mhm.
Getting on the Right Track. And I talk and it can be done on the internet. I mean, I have writers all over the country, even the world, actually. And I was just recently told that my work is in Cape Town, South Africa. I've
Oh,
never been there and don't have a desire, especially to go, but my work is there. And so, what I tell them, just get someone. I don't ghostwrite, but I can help them write that book in a way that they will feel comfortable, that
mhm.
it's their story. I can, on the website, leavesofgoldconsulting.com. Shannon and I have been working as a team for about 10 or 15 years. I don't know quite how long, but I do the editing for those who come to me, and she does the covers and the layouts, and it gets done. And people think that it's really expensive. I don't think it's expensive when you consider the value of it.
Yeah.
My prices are very reasonable because this is my ministry. This is not this. It's my business second to my ministry.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so my price, people always tell me I need to go up, but ultimately my goal is to be able to give my work away. That's how much I love what I do.
Yes.
And I've heard it said by one of the people I quote, if you find a job that you like, you never work a day in your life. And so that's what
So
I
true.
do.
Yeah.
And it's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I've worked with a lot of elderly people who have they've lost their desire to live, many of them, and
Right.
especially if they've lost their spouse. That's
Yes.
my widow's ministry. And
Yes.
many of them have written books. They started sometimes writing them even during the care providing for their spouse who's sick. They'll
Right.
start journaling, and before you know it, they have a book. And so I started the Widows Ministry actually 1 month after Reverend Edwards passed 17 years ago, because God had prepared me. I didn't know I was being prepared at the time, but there's a story on my widowswithwisdom.org
Mhm.
website. And I talk about these three widows, Dr. Scarlett, that I met like just before my husband, Reverend Edwards, passed. And I
Mhm.
kept meeting these older women. And one of them was 85, and she had a fitness physical fitness trainer.
Oh,
She went to the spa twice a week, and she had a perfect size 8 figure. She was 85.
isn't that
And then
wonderful?
I met another widow in the nail salon, and, where she was 93, and I
Mm.
met her. She had her foot in the bowl getting a pedicure, and they told me that she had a bi-monthly appointment, and I thought, "Boy, this is somebody I need to know." So what I did, and this is funny, I was writing for our local newspaper, the Michigan Chronicle. At the time, I was a columnist. It's a secular newspaper, but I had a religious column in it.
Oh,
And I
nice.
thought, this is a great story to put in the paper. So I took a picture. Her name was Mother Ruth. She lived to be 103. But I
Oh,
met her, she was 93, got her nails and toenails and fingernails done twice a month. And so I took her picture and I sent it to the paper with my story. And it was called Lovely as She Can Be at 93. They put my picture in there and instead of Mother Ruth's picture in there. And because they were used to putting my picture in the column, so
right.
they just put, and I was teased so badly about that.
I'm
They said,
sure.
and this was like 10 years ago or more. And they said, I knew you looked good for your age, but I didn't know you were 93. So anyway, Mother Ruth and I became friends, and I told, I want to be like you when I grow up. So she named me Baby Ruth. Well, I
Oh,
think that I'm going to live to be 103 if Jesus doesn't come back or send for us or whatever comes first, that I'll live a long life. And as I said,
yeah.
I'm 80 Eve and I'm just starting. And then there was another widow on there. She was Ruth also, and she was going to be 80 on her birthday. And she said, I want to write a book and have a book signing on my 80th birthday. And she did. So
Oh,
all
nice.
these stories that I just told you are on the widowswithwisdom.org website.
Okay.
And so anyway, I met these women, and I went home one day when Reverend Edwards was still alive, and I said, I've been meeting so many wonderful, wise widows. Somebody needs to start a ministry and call it Widows with Wisdom.
Yes.
And he looked at me, and this is a true story. He said, "Well, it won't be you because you're not a widow."
Mm.
Little did we know he was in stage 4 of cancer that very
Oh,
moment, and I became a widow shortly after that.
oh, wow.
It just went really fast,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that because, some people he was only 68, but some people said he was too young, but I know him. He was a man with a mission,
Right.
and he said, "When my work is done, all I wanna do is get out of here."
Mhm.
So he was here like Jesus for a season and a reason. And when the time came, he left. And I'm not mad about it. I just began Widows with Wisdom, and I
Mm.
began to continue on the legacy with my granddaughter and others, and
Yeah.
my stuff. And I didn't know at the time that all of my works, and I've written 15 books, and Shannon's done most of those covers for those books are in the University of Michigan Legacy Library.
That's
So it's an
wonderful.
exciting life. It's it's kind of like a ministry that no one really wants because it's a grief ministry and
Yeah.
you're on 24/7. You never know when you're going to get a phone call, and sometimes you do in the middle of the night. But I started ministries, Dr. Scarlett, and looking for someone to take them over. But
Yes.
I've had this for 17 years, and people just keep coming, but no one wants to take it over. And so I kept saying, "Well, Lord, as long as you keep me here, I'll keep doing it." But I would love to have, a backup person,
Yeah.
especially now that I'm, no longer a widow. And
Right.
that's a wonderful story. I'm doing another thing I'm doing now is called God is a Matchmaker.
Oh,
And
nice.
from Derek Prince's book of that
Yeah.
title.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't planning to do this. Maybe you know what I'm about to say. You don't always start out looking for something to do. It finds you.
Right.
And
Yes.
you just evolve, and
Mhm.
that's what happened to me. I received a phone call. Do I have time to tell this story?
Sure. Yes, of course.
Okay, in 2019, I put out something every year called "What Would Life Be Like Without Black people. And it's a column I do during Black History Month, and I feel like that's my contribution, to Black History Month. So every year since 2005, I put this column out, and I get some feedback. People say, thank you. I'm going to share it with my children. I'm going to share it. And so I got a call. What happened January, we're talking about this year, 20. First of all, let me back up. I forgot an important part. In 2019, I got a call from a gentleman, and he wanted me to edit his book. Well, I always ask this question: what is your book about? Before I set up the appointment, and for only God knows the reason why I didn't ask him that. What's your book about? I just gave him the appointment, so he came from Ann Arbor to Detroit for me to edit his book, and it was on voting. And I thought, oh my God, I don't do books on voting. I'm so naive. I didn't even know what vetting was, Vetting, I think. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I had you come all the way here, and I can't do this kind of book, but I can refer you to someone, which I did. And he was happy, and he left. Never heard another word from him until this year. Delayed. I always say divine delay brings greater glory. Because in January the 1st, I usually go on a fast to kind of evaluate where I am, where God might want me to go. And so I went on a 21-day fast with Jetson Franklin, and maybe I'm sure you probably know who that is. And I go on that fast every year. And so I went on this 21-day fast. And during the fast, I started thinking, God, I need so much. I don't know what I need. I said, Lord, just give me what I need the most. I realized that I had asked for something I'd never asked for before, because I got a long list of stuff,
Right.
but I never asked the Lord to give me what I needed the most. And so that went out. I sent out that article about what would life be like without Black people in February the 1st. February 2nd, I get a call from the same gentleman I had talked to since 2019. He called and he said, you need to put this book in every school in the country. Excuse me, who is this? And so he said, this is Dr. Calvin Williams from Ann Arbor. And then it came back that we had this short meeting almost a year and a half ago, whatever. So long story short, I wasn't really interested in writing that book, but what I was interested in, somebody wanted to help me do something.
Yeah.
And that's what I had asked the Lord for, to send me some help, send me what I need the most. And so when he wanted to help me write a book, I thought, well, I don't want to write that book, but I have a lot of other books that I would like to write. Maybe you'll help me with those. So we started talking in February, and 12 days later, he proposed marriage to me.
Oh, how wonderful.
And what had happened is, what's a beautiful thing, you're probably familiar. I know I see books, and when I see books, I know you're a bookie too. What happened in the early conversation, I asked him, have you ever read a book called 5 Love Languages?
Yes.
5 Love Languages. And he said, no, I haven't. And I said, well, I'd like for you to read this book, because my love language, he had already, acts of service, is part of what I do and part of what I need.
Right.
And so I said, I'd like for you to get this book. And so I said, I've given so many copies away, I don't think I even have a copy for myself. At 10 o'clock the next morning, special delivery, I get 2 copies of this book. One with a note saying, one for you and one for you to give away. But I also bought one for myself. And I'd like to go through this book with you. And so we went through that book, and we realized that we had so many commonalities. And so I was looking all the time for the nod from God on this whole relationship,
Right.
because everything was happening so fast.
Sure.
And so anyway, he proposed like 10 days after our first phone call about this, what would life be like without Black people? And then we got married in June, and here I am in Ann Arbor, around the corner from my legacy works. And so,
Oh,
God has plans for us.
he
We don't
does.
always know, but we just, walk by faith and not by sight. And
That's
I'm
so right.
thinking about, I had said to him during one of our early conversations, I used to live in your neck of the woods because I did live in Ann Arbor for a while,
Uh-huh.
but I moved back to Detroit because so much of my work was in Detroit. And I kept going back and forth and back and forth. So finally, the Lord told me just to move there. And I didn't want to leave, but I had to leave because the Lord said, go back. So I went back. And but on the phone conversation with Dr. Calvin, and by the way, he's former vice president, retired now at Washtenaw Community College up here in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
So that's our college connections there. But
Yeah.
in the course of our initial conversation, I said, I used to live in your neck of the woods. He said, oh, really? Where did you live? And I told him, I said, I used to live with Dr. Debbie Mitchell. And he said, Debbie Mitchell? Debbie's 60 now. He said, I knew her when she was about 8 years old. I used to
Oh my.
be her church's treasurer. So he was really excited that we had a mutual contact.
Well,
So
yes.
so
That's
then right
beautiful.
after that first phone call, that was all in 1 hour, the first phone call. And so I called Dr. Debbie Mitchell and I said, do you know a gentleman named Dr. Calvin Williams? And she said, yes. I said, well, I just had an hour-long conversation with him on the phone. And she said, girl, this girlfriend's talking. She
Yeah.
said, if that man is interested in you, you better pay attention. And I did, and this is what happened. And so we got connected and it was just from the very beginning. And when you get
That's
our age,
amazing.
and I'm a year older than he is. We're
Mhm.
right now we're both 78. I'll be 79 in a couple of weeks. He just turned 78, so we're both 78.
Yeah,
But I'll be 79 and he'll still be 78.
right.
So he calls me my love, and I said, "Well, you can call me whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me your old lady." And I am a year older than he is, but we
What
are enjoying
what a
our life
beautiful
together, and
story. Oh,
and
I love
um,
that. I
it's
love
just
that so much.
it's a true story. But what happened? I ended up doing this on Zoom. On God is a matchmaker. I almost
Right.
said miracle worker because he's a miracle worker too. But
Yeah.
so many people, and I'm really well known in Detroit, and so the word got around so fast that I was getting married, and people said she's the last person in the world I thought would ever get married again. But and they thought I had him in hiding because everything happened so
So
fast.
fast.
So I had to keep telling the story, Dr. Scarlett, over and over and over and over again. And
Right.
so finally, Holy Spirit said, just go on Zoom and tell it, to everybody that wants to hear it and be done. I thought be done
Sure.
with it. But he gave me the book, God is the Matchmaker.
Matchmaker.
And it's such a perfect book for so
That's so
many.
good.
And I'm thinking about doing one now called Love Late in Life
Oh,
because I have
nice.
so many friends
Mhm.
that are older, getting older, 60
Right.
something and up, and they've some never been married.
Yeah.
And so my story and Dr. Kell's story gives people hope. And I name all of my friends like I named Shannon Covergirl. Well,
Yeah.
all my friends have little special names that I give them, and I call Dr. Kell my crown prince.
Oh, I love that.
Little did I know at the time that we would be doing this book by Derek Prince, and it's been a wonderful experience. We have about 30 women and
Yeah.
men, mostly women. We're trying to get more men to come on, and it's not a dating service, it's a book review is what we're
Sure.
doing.
Yeah.
And I emphasize it's just getting prepared for marriage because
Right.
Dr. Prince says something that I so wholeheartedly agree with, that the marriage begins before the marriage ceremony. It begins with us,
Yeah.
that we have to get ready for
Right.
marriage. And
Yeah.
so we've been doing this online on Zoom, and I'm getting more and more familiar with doing Zoom. And
Good.
it's just a happy time because at the same time, we're newlyweds, but it's keeping our marriage alive and well because we're
Yeah.
talking about, God is a matchmaker. So
That's right.
it's exciting.
That's
It's a good
wonderful.
time of life. Every day, like you said, is better than the
Well,
day before.
I love your energy.
It's amazing. But
Praise
you know what?
God.
I just light up. There's when I'm talking about the Lord, I just, my soul does magnify the Lord and I
Well, yes.
rejoice in God. And,
Amen.
that's my life scripture. And He keeps me happy. My former ministry for so many years with my late husband was Joy of Jesus
Yeah.
Ministries. The joy of the Lord is my
It's
strength.
my
It keeps me
strength.
happy.
Amen.
Well, this little story. One day I got out of bed and I wasn't feeling so happy. And I felt kind of heavy, all this. I've got a widow's ministry and grief. And so I said, oh, I just feel so low and heavy. So
Mhm.
the Lord, and this is a good tip. The Lord said, Mary, I want you to go out to the dollar store and I want you to buy a whole bunch of happy face balloons. And He says, and I want you to put them all over your house. So I did it immediately. And so I had them everywhere, every room in the house. And later on after a while, those dollar store balloons don't last very long. And I was sitting in this chair one day and one of the balloons had fallen down on the floor. And I said, Lord, that's how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling like low. And He said, yes, Mary, but look, it's still a smile on the face.
Oh,
And
that's
so that became so special to me, even though the balloon had lost its air and it was on the floor, it was still smiling.
right.
So that is,
That's right.
how I
The joy of
feel about
Jesus.
life.
Well, I want to, before we go, encourage people to get some of your books, maybe all of your books, but at least the Born Grown book, your autobiography, because it is just such an amazing story of the obstacles, the challenges, the trauma, even abuse that you have overcome. And it really is so inspiring where you've come from and the things that you have overcome by the power of God and uh, probably some determination, right? But
Yeah,
I
it
just,
keeps me moving.
yeah,
I look forward to each day, getting up. I had a group here in Detroit for Detroit area for the aged. They were trying to motivate their seniors,
right,
and they didn't want to eat and they didn't want to exercise. And I said, well, I can understand how people can get in that mold.
yeah,
But they had heard that I knew how to motivate seniors. And
right,
so you have to give us, and I'm a senior, well into my
yeah,
senior years, a reason for to go on to get out of bed. And
right.
so I just feel this way. I want to live, learn, laugh, and leave a legacy. And
Amen.
that's
That's
really
so
what I'm all
good.
about.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. You mean so much to me already, and the things I've learned about your ministry and your life. And I know that you've empowered women today. So thanks again for being on the podcast.
I'm
And we
happy to
love
be
you.
here with you. And as I say, call on me anytime. I'm making
Yes.
myself available for things I love to do. And I
Good.
love to tell the story about Jesus, and I love to tell the legacy story. And so
Amen. That's
thank you
good.
so much.
Yes. God bless you. Thank you.
No, bye-bye.
Bye bye. Well, again, we just want to thank you for listening today and go on to the website, Dr. Mary's website, and she has some tremendous ministries that she started, all of her awards and recognition. You'll just be really surprised by the accomplishments and let it inspire you today. God bless you. Well, thank you for tuning in today to this podcast. We have another one coming up. In fact, it's every other week, the first and third Friday. Hopefully, this has spoken to you. If you would like to, we have a magazine. It's called Grace and Faith Journal, and it comes out once a quarter, and we'd love to send that to you. It has interesting articles, and then it tells what we're doing at Horton Ministries International to help people and to minister people around the world. To email us at office@scarletthorton.com. Then you can give us your address. We can send you our Grace and Faith magazine. And if you're in Tampa, Florida, come see us at Grace Harvest Church. We pastor a local church here. But we mainly want to pray for you and encourage you. So again, if you need prayer, email us for prayer. We'd love to do that. And tune in next time. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.